What's poppin', Rocky Top? Welcome back to Poppin Politics, UT's very own political wrap-up show, where you learn about politics and I eat popcorn. I'm your host, Evan Mays. Let's get started. It was a very busy, eventful week in politics this past week. The Iowa Caucus took place, stirring controversy all around the country. President Trump delivered his third State of the Union address, and the Senate voted to acquit the president on both articles of impeachment. We'll be breaking this down step by step for you here in this episode of Poppin Politics. The Iowa Caucus took place Monday night. It was anyone's game, with analysts split on who could win the most delegates. Many predicted Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont would end the night with a victory speech, and others predicted former Vice President Joe Biden would come out with a win. But no one expected that nearly a week later, the entirety of the results would still not be released, and underdog candidate former Mayor Pete Buttigieg would be the one delivering a victory speech. Controversy surrounded the late release of the results of the Iowa caucuses, and the Iowa Democratic Party claims this late release is due to technical difficulties. However, Tom Perez, chairman of the Democratic National Party, has called for a complete recanvass of the state. Nevertheless, with the current results, Buttigieg has a very narrow lead over runner-up Sanders. Coming in third is Senator Elizabeth Warren. In a shocking upset, however, former Vice President Joe Biden, the supposed front-runner of the Democratic Party, placed fourth, with Senator Amy Klobuchar coming in fifth. Buttigieg said Monday night, "We don't know the results, but we know by the time it's all said and done, Iowa, you have shocked the nation, because by all indications, we are going on to New Hampshire victorious." On Tuesday, President Trump delivered his third State of the Union address. During his speech, he stressed positivity and untraditionally awarded a Presidential Medal of Freedom to Rush Limbaugh, a radio personality. President Trump said that Limbaugh is, quote, "a special man, someone beloved by millions of Americans who just received a stage 4 cancer diagnosis. This is not good news, but what is good news is that he is the greatest fighter and winner that you will ever meet. Rush Limbaugh, thank you for your decades of tireless devotion to our country." Most of the president's speech was overshadowed by Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, however. Before beginning their speech, it is customary for the president to hand a copy of the State of the Union address to the Speaker of the House and shake their hand. However, after handing Speaker Pelosi a copy of the speech, the president did not shake her hand. After the speech was over, the speaker stood up and began ripping the paper copy of the speech into pieces, igniting a firestorm of differing opinions on social media. On Wednesday, the Senate voted to acquit President Trump on both charges of impeachment. In a vote of 52 to 48, the Senate voted to acquit the president on the charge of abuse of power. The vote was along party lines, except for Republican Senator Mitt Romney of Utah, who voted to convict the president on the charge. In a vote of 53 to 47, the Senate voted to acquit the president on the charge of obstruction of Congress. President Trump made several comments about the impeachment vote, including a comment regarding his family. He's quoted as saying, "I want to apologize to my family for having them go through a phony, rotten deal by some very evil and sick people." Thank you all so much for tuning into another episode of Poppin Politics here at the Daily Beacon. A quick reminder, the Tennessee primary election is coming up on March 3rd, and early voting starts this week on Wednesday, so make sure to schedule out a good time for you to go and participate in the American democracy. Thank you all so much for joining us. It is really important. I'm really glad that we were able to help you keep informed, keep updated after a very tumultuous, bumpy ride of a week in terms of politics. I can't wait to see you next week. I'm your host, Evan Mays, signing off.